Hello, everybody. Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas. Interesting video today. It started with a private message I got. I'm going to show you here in a minute. But I created this meme and posted it to my Facebook here. And I asked this question: what do these two young ladies have in common? And that was all the information that I put there. I put them side by side. Show that they're both blonde, about the same build, and they look similar. I mean, I think everybody has to agree to that. Wait till you find out what they have in common. Okay. And I shared this. It was a private message I got this morning when I shared it. I said, this may be another victim of the same crime ring behind the many other murders from the gang of criminals believed to be run in Midland, Odessa. And if so, no amount of evidence or proof will help. It's lawlessness. That's based on my experiences of having triple proof of, showing that I wasn't shot with my gun, making a capital murder attempt, and then multiple people documented saying underground homes and tunnels are here. Multiple other homeowners reporting people in the attic, same crimes that I reported when I was ambushed and shot, in a cold-blooded, premeditated, capital attempted murder, and where they shot me and left me to die in my own home, cut my phone lines and shot me, and from under my house. I just reported a tunnel. Everybody knows that, but that's what I'm saying. If this missing young woman is connected to the same crime ring, and that's what I think probably is the case, then evidence isn't the problem. The corruption is the problem, and because there's plenty of evidence to as long as once we can find police that will act on the evidence. Anyway, this is Krystal Lynn right here. Okay. Krystal Lynn Hall, Odessa, Midland, Texas. Last contact, October 1st, 2019. The family of a Coaldale Borough woman is looking for answers after learning Monday that their younger sister had been missing for over a month. According to the state police, Krystal Lynn Hall was reported missing Tuesday by her sisters after it was discovered she had not contacted anyone in over a month. Valerie Smith, the oldest of Krystal's sisters, said that Krystal was the youngest of four sisters and a mother to two children. Smith said that the family became aware of Krystal's disappearance when the father of her children told them that Krystal had last contacted him on October 1st. Her last known location was Midland, Odessa, Texas. She lives in Pennsylvania. No Facebook activity since September 25th, which was pictures taken from a bus in Dallas. Smith explained that Krystal had aspirations of a military career, but suffered from a heart murmur and scoliosis, and was even told by her ex-boyfriend, who she remained friends with and who had served in the military, that she would not pass the physical. The children's father said that she had told him she had met an individual online who said he would help her get into the military and send her a ticket to Texas. She took a Greyhound bus from Altoona to Midland, Texas. Smith said that she did not know where online her sister met this individual or his exact name, but it's believed to be Justin or Justice. According to Smith, on October 1st, Krystal had contacted the father of her children saying that she was scared, which both Smith and the children's father agreed was unlike her because she was afraid of anything. She wasn't afraid of anything. Krystal also told him she believed that she was potentially going to be involved in sex trafficking, and she was with four men and four women, and the women were not allowed to talk to each other. It was relayed to Smith that Krystal did not know where she was or an address, but that when asked, she sent the children's father a photo, and with the dirty window making the photo unclear. Photo below. Please contact police if you recognize the area. It appeared that she was in a trailer park of some kind. This was the last time anyone had heard from Krystal, and Smith said that beyond this, the sisters know no more details at this point from family. We got some information. We spoke to the man that bought her the ticket. He said they were supposed to be together, but his roommate got her back into drugs. She took off with him. The roommate is in jail now. We're not sure what happened to her. She changed her address to 2040 North Palomino, Odessa on November 1st, the police found out. So as far as we know, she's alive, but God knows what she's into, okay? And of course, this was a year ago. Okay, here's her picture. That's the picture I used to compare to the other young woman. And here is the picture that, that was where she was locked in with him. And to me, you're looking, I'm looking at this house, somebody recognizes that property. Maybe it's in this area. There's a lot of trees in the back. You can see that. There's a fence that looks like double wide trailers, a cream colored and a burgundy colored double wides, and then that row of trees behind it, and so. But that looks like our country right here, and the pasture and all that. So I'd say out in the country somewhere. Okay. And then I followed that up with comments. Krystal sounds just like Caitlin Dennison, who flew to Midland from Reno in 2018 and was never seen again. They even look alike. Now you can see why I made the comparison, okay? And see, I took her picture and compared it, Caitlin's picture, to Krystal's picture and put them side by side. One comes to Midland in 2018, goes missing, and the other one comes to Midland in 2019 and goes missing, okay? I'm going to read this. A Nevada family is holding on to hope that their loved one is safe. 19-year-old Caitlin Dennison has not been seen or heard from since January. This isn't like her. Caitlin's sister, Rachel Dennison, said, "We will never go this long without talking to her. Why I know something is wrong." The last thing Dennison told her family is that she was flying to Midland with a man she had met, a man Caitlin's family knows nothing about. They didn't know what his name was or what he looked like. Even more troubling, the last words Rachel remembers her sister saying on the other end of the phone, she said, "This guy makes me scared for my life." Okay, and she come in from Reno, okay, Reno, Nevada, and see, I've told this story online before that right after I got out of the hospital, I had a home health care nurse named Melissa Gibbs, okay, and so here one day I was trying to get Melissa to put this metal pendant inside my bandages because she was changing the bandages, the wound vac, and because I'd just been shot, right, and she says, "But you're going to have x-rays, tomorrow or whatever." And I said, "I know." And what I was doing was I was suspecting they were faking my x-ray. It was before I had the triple proof. I've now found proof they were faking my x-rays, but this was before I was just suspecting it. And so that's why I was wanting her to sneak in this medallion that I knew would show up in an x-ray. And so I knew it was fake. I knew they were faking my x-ray. But she didn't want to do it, which is understandable because she was a nurse, RN, and, that come back to her. But then I told her, I said, "Melissa," I said, "they're trying to cut my leg off." And she felt guilty, and she knew that was true because they were trying to cut my leg off to cover up this failed murder. That's what was going on. About that time, boom, the person in the attic threw something down. It wasn't an accident. I jumped, she jumped. It's one of the many spooky things that goes on in this house because this house is rigged and people are breaking into it, and there's $1 million underground home in the backyard where they murdered another little girl. They tried to murder me here. They murdered the guy that lived here before me, etc. Okay, so we're sitting here, boom, and it was clear that the person in the attic was telling this woman telling Melissa to shut up. And what had happened was Melissa was telling me this story. She said that there was a rich guy, wealthy guy in Midland, older than me, and then he would take a group of girls to Reno every year. That's what she was telling me when the person in the attic threw something down to tell her shut up, and she was shaking. I'm talking about shaking. And somebody needs to ask her because that happened, and Melissa left and she never came back to my house. That was it. And so I contacted, I posted that story before because I think maybe the person that from Reno that met Caitlin and had her come was the same people, the same guy that took a group of girls to Reno every year. Somebody knows who that group of girls was. Every year this guy would take a group of girls to Reno. I got a feeling it was connected to human trafficking, sex trafficking, the same crime ring that's connected to the murder 10th of my life, the underground homes, etc. So anyway, that's the story about Reno and Caitlin, but I was comparing Krystal, okay, to these two. What do they have in common? Both of them come into Midland, and neither of them have been seen before, and they look alike, and both of them are suspected to be connected to sex trafficking, okay? And so then I went on with another story here. In 2015, Jakayla Salazar went missing, and her remains were found in the next year. I was told that she was connected with prostitution too. Okay, and so here's the remains were found in Exeter County, identified as missing woman. Another young woman here. Okay, from Odessa. Okay, she didn't come in from out of town, and her bones were found in the Monahan's Draw last Thursday. And of course, that was in 2016 is when that was, and she went missing in 2015. Okay, and cause of death unknown, etc. Okay, but what I want to show you here is that here's a print screen that I got. I was given this information about Jakayla before her remains were found. Okay. And so this woman writes me and she says, please keep this private. I worked with her at Burger King, Jakayla. She was dating our manager, a Hispanic guy, I can't remember his name, but he would pimp her out. She told me of a time that he had her give an old guy a BJ in the parking lot to get him $50. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. And I have a feeling the same human trafficking gang is behind several murders in the area. And then she writes, she was a sweet girl. She was just lost. I wish I could remember his name. He was from Houston. Javier. His name is Javier. He was actually in the middle of a divorce when he was with Jackie. That's the guy that was pimping out Jackie. So that's who I suspected was probably had connection, to the human trafficking, sex trafficking ring, and probably the murder of Jakayla, maybe the murder of them other ones. I believe it's a crime ring. It's a sex trafficking ring. And then the next story on there, in 2013, the remains of a girl between the ages of 14 and 21 were found outside of Midland. I've long suspected this was the same young girl that Angie Mungia Herrley told me about being murdered at a party going on during the 2010 Permian Basin International Oil Show because she didn't want a prostitute. I've told that story many times. And here's right from the news. This is the KMID, your basin, Midland County Sheriff's Office continues investigation into a set of remains found in 2013. Okay, and so the Midland County Sheriff's Office. That's why I've been contacting Grindr, and because I think that this is the young girl murdered at the 2010 oil show party. And a set of human remains found in 2013. They were discovered on August 1st, 2013, south of I-20 near FM 1213. They were a young woman, 14 to 21 years old, according to the release, and homicide suspected. When you see the Crime Stoppers, it tells you homicide suspected. Okay, and then I'm gonna get on to this is where I believe the oil show parties were held and where that young girl was murdered at, which Angie had told me about. So my friend Angie had told me about a young girl being murdered in 2010, and the remains of a young girl are found in 2013. Okay, and this is on top of Krystal and Caitlin. Okay, this is in addition. I think it's probably all connected to the same human trafficking ring, and they just seem to have control of the press and the police, and they can kill anybody they want, break into home, get caught on camera. Proof doesn't matter, evidence don't matter. They just keep on killing. I mean, they're rigging homes all over the place, and I think all of it's for sex trafficking. So let's listen to this one. I played it before.
About the pizza parties. They said they're not called pizza parties, but I know what you're talking about.
Right, the pedophile parties.
Yes.
And then and see, a couple of weeks, you probably read all this before, but a couple of weeks after I got out of the hospital, that ex-wife comes by my home and she says, you don't know how many lives you ruined with your idiocy. And of course, my idiocy was staying home and minding my own business. I'm shot inside my home. And but what she was saying was a lot of people were here and they're going to have their lives ruined. And
do you know about how many feet that gun pushed through?
That
ground it was, because he said that these houses are 25 feet under, at least 25 exactly.
Okay, and that was just a clip out of that video there. It's a longer video. And law enforcement I gave them the name of the woman that I recorded saying that. But she wasn't the only one that told me about these underground homes and facilities where it's believed that the oil show parties are at, where the little girl was murdered at. It may be connected to Caitlin and Krystal and the other missing women from around here. Okay. This one's interesting. Sheriff candidate Joe Lozano was secretly recorded saying that late Sheriff Gary Painter used to hang out in these underground homes. Before Joe told me this, Angie had told me that she was scared to report the murder of that young girl because of high-level police at the same old show party. So, I mean, this is one of my viral videos, Sheriff Painter's Hideout, because Joe Lozano, running for sheriff at the time, tells me that the late Sheriff Gary Painter used to hang out in these underground homes here. And so that was just one more confirmation with the very credible witness, so obviously they're here. Obviously there was a young girl murdered, and obviously that the remains found in 2013 were from that young girl. But it appears that no investigation by no legitimate law enforcement can be found. And I'm not trying to put down law enforcement. I'm just stating what facts as I've seen them, and I think the rest of us can agree that's what's happening. Okay, Google Maps is showing a large facility in my backyard which can't be seen from above ground. I think this is one of the 4 underground homes I was told about, and where that young girl was murdered at a party going on during the 2010 oil show. And you could do this yourself. You just go to Google Maps, put in my address, and look in my backyard. Here's a 3-bedroom, $1 million underground home buried in my backyard. You look here, you don't see it above ground, but you can see it on the map screen, okay? And so somebody ought to be asking Google, why is it there? In addition to multiple people saying that there's underground homes here, believed to have been hosting these oil show parties, And the woman that was recorded, Rhonda Denman Rogers, saying underground homes a half block away. And then Layla O'Brien says she worked on this project, was finished in 1987 at a cost of $7.35 million. She said they called it the Safe House Project. And she believed that the Bushes were involved in it. At the time, George Sr. was Vice President of the United States, and Midland is the hometown of the Bushes. So you can see why they might call it safe houses, and maybe government money put in these underground homes, secret underground homes, that were then now, here all these years later, used to murder, for forced prostitution, for parties, for covert parties during the oil show, and for forced prostitution and to murder the little girls that don't want to prostitute, And so, and then Sheriff candidate, which you can listen to that phone recording. I've got it posted online, and so that was yet another proof. It was more evidence on top of evidence on top of evidence on top of evidence, and all coming back to a murder, to an unsolved murder. Rhonda Denman Rogers told me that underground facilities half block away, so this might be the location of another one of the 4 underground homes where the oil show prostitution parties were going on. Maybe this is where the young girl was murdered, refused to prostitute. Maybe it wasn't the one in the backyard. Maybe it was one at the other 4 homes, and maybe one's around the corner right there in that empty lot on Westmont Court. What I'm showing here's Rhonda Denman Rogers telling me it's a half block away. Well, that's a half block away. She didn't say 3/4 of a block. She didn't say a block and a half. She knew exactly where it was. How come law enforcement hasn't talked to Rhonda Denman Rogers, and they've already exposed that underground home right there that's a half block away? It's because she's one of many people that have said these underground homes was here. What I was pointing out, there's a water well in that lot. Well, right there, my neighbor next to my yard, my backyard, where it's believed that underground home is, has a water well, okay? This home had a mortar problem, and my home had a mortar problem. And it's believed that the mortar problem come from digging under the home, And so that's why I'm going, that looks like this home. Maybe them owners don't even know that there's an underground home, 3-bedroom underground home in that parking lot, and there might be even a tunnel going under their home, Or maybe they do know, Maybe they're trying to cover it up. Based on evidence found, I suspect the people at the 2010 oil show parties were parking in the Home Depot parking lot, going underground somewhere in that store before coming back towards the underground home in my backyard via that tunnel, which can easily be seen. A clerk at the Home Depot store told me one day, if you happen to see a lot of cars in the parking lot late at night, then it's because we're stalking. She just blurted that out like it was a clue. And the people at the oil show parties would need a lot of parking and an excuse. I believe that we'll find out the body of that dead girl who refused to prostitute was carried out this way via these tunnels and out the Home Depot store. Okay, and I also believe that MPD officers Davis, Dickey, Chatwell, Angel, and Hale that were at or in my home, minutes after I had been ambushed and shot with my phone lines cut, had parked in this parking lot, went underground in this store, and then come back to my home from this tunnel. You can see it here on the ground. See where it's a different color, the asphalt right there? And come back through the tunnel to my house here, and then come from the trap door that I was shot from, that the ex-wife had already told me about. That's what I believe. And I believe the people at the oil show party were parking in the parking lot, going underground here. And, well, how do they explain all them cars in the parking lot late at night? Oh, it's because we're stalking? Oh, yeah, are you? You sure you're not in this underground home in my backyard having a party, And, and here, like I said, there it is. You can see where they cut the asphalt right there, aimed directly at my house. And so based on evidence, that's what I suspect was going on. Last year, I showed Homeland Security, and remember, Homeland Security is supposed to take care of human trafficking, right? I mean, supposed to. And so I showed Homeland Security, this guy is writing me, where I believe the human traffic tunnels were at behind the Home Depot store that was used for the underground parties and the murder of the young girl. 2 weeks later, the ground was dug up and concrete was poured. Okay, so this was on July 2nd, 2019. You can remember that date, July, that I met Homeland, because that's the date that Vice President Pence mysteriously turned around in the air and flew back to Washington. That made national news. Everybody remember that? And then they come up with this excuse. Oh, it was a drug trafficker in New Hampshire. Yeah, I bet it was. I bet it was Midland, Texas, pouring concrete to cover up capital murders. That's what I believe it was. And so here this guy continues to write. And so 2 weeks before this picture was taken, this is a video I was here with Homeland Security showing them where I believe human trafficking and murder tunnels. And I already showed you from the Google Maps. So I actually went back there with Homeland Security in person on July 2nd, and this was taken on July 19th. You can see that. So 2 weeks later, they dug the ground up and they poured concrete right where I told them I thought this human trafficking murder tunnel was at, that was used for these oil show parties. Okay. So then a couple of weeks later, after I made that video showing the pouring concrete with Homeland, it's okay. Okay, let me read it again. A couple of weeks after I made the video about concrete being poured, right where I showed Homeland Security where I believe the human trafficking murder tunnel was at, U.S. Congressman Mike Conaway from Midland announced he was retiring. Come to find out, his late brother-in-law, John Lejeune, used to live in the house across the street from my home. I wondered if a tunnel was going over there. I had actually personally contacted Conaway. I talked to him I have a recording of a town hall meeting, and I told him my story about the secret police being shot inside my home. I met his staff. He invited me to meet his staff, and then he sent me an official letter to contact U.S. Inspector General Horowitz, which I did about 100 times, and I never got a reply back. I mean, I was sent to a dead end. I got a feeling Horowitz was told to ignore me, and because they were trying to cover up capital murders, and that's what I believe, And so here, this picture is my little cul-de-sac. There's 9 homes in it, okay? And it's a dead-end cul-de-sac. Right here is the Home Depot behind it. And here's my home right here. And so this shows the deed history of my home. Here I am. And I bought this home from the widow of Mike Lawhon. And you can see the date in November 2008. Of course, he died right before, I transferred into town, and it's suspected that he's murdered. A lot of evidence has been found showing that. And he bought the home from Brandy Merrill here in 2006, okay? And Brandy Merrill got it from Morris Kurt in 2003. And I had people in this family right here, the kids of this is a teacher, this Morris is, that threatened me. I've got screenshots, just real hateful, extremely rude, which makes you wonder that they know something about the underground homes and the multiple murders. I mean, that's what it makes me wonder. I've got, they should be talked to, I mean, if you have, once again, legitimate law enforcement should talk to them. And then the first homeowner, Randy Offenberger, who was a engineer with Pioneer Oil Company here, and the home was built in 1982. What I'm showing on this deed history is Brandy Merrill. See this line going down over to this home right here. Well, Brandy married Daniel Price, so when I moved into this home, Daniel and Brandy lived across the street. this home was owned by John Lejeune, 2004, and that's the brother-in-law of Mike Conaway, U.S. Congressman Mike Conaway. Okay, and that was the connection that that was showing there, is that I've long called this the Conaway house. It's actually owned now by William Wilson and another one of the siblings of John Lejeune, and Suzanne Conaway, the wife of Mike Conaway, was Marsu Wilson. And so the question's even been asked if that home there is still in the family, if it's still in the Conaway family, and because the brother-in-law of a congressman here, lived across the street from my home, which has a tunnel, an underground home, and connected those show parties and all that. Maybe there's a tunnel over there. Maybe they knew about it. Maybe Conaway knew about it all the time. And maybe that's why Conaway announced his retirement, before the concrete could even cure, And so there's a maybes there, but there's some questions that need to be asked in a murder investigation, because we got the remains of a young girl that was found, right? What if the underground homes were being used as illegal casino and brothel for these wealthy people? That would make a lot of sense. Actually, this is a print screen that I got from a woman, and she said, that is so bizarre, but yeah, I so believe you. I had a lot of people here recently in the past week talking a lot about the underground tunnels here and discussing the underground. Word here in Midland is now there's a game room that the high officials go to, and bet money, and win money and whatever else is going on down there. And that was a reference to prostitution, brothel, and I'm sure probably forced prostitution. You either prostitute out or you die, and we'll carry you out a tunnel, A couple of months after Conaway resigned, Secretary of Homeland Security Kevin McLennan resigned, and then 6 days later, Secretary of Energy Rick Perry resigned. Many people are wondering if this was because they were connected with the pouring of concrete and obstruction of justice in the murder of that young girl at the 2010 oil show party. I have a feeling that the energy companies don't want anybody to find out they had employees at a secret underground party where forced prostitution was going on. Maybe those other missing young women were underground at some time too. And that makes a lot of sense, right? That's the whole point. That's why I put this in here with Caitlin and Krystal, the missing women that flew to Midland and were never seen again. And so look at the date, October 11th, 2019. They were pouring concrete on July 17th. I had showed Homeland where I thought the tunnels were on July 2nd. Okay, and then 2 weeks later, Conaway mysteriously retires, right? And his brother-in-law lived across the street. And then Kevin McLennan resigns as acting Homeland Secretary. Okay, and so I had been contacting Homeland. And then 6 days later, Energy Secretary Rick Perry resigns, and 6 days after Homeland Security resigns. And keep in mind that Rick Perry was the governor of Texas when I was ambushed and shot. He was the governor of Texas when the oil show parties were going on. Them, I believe to be held, where the young girl was murdered at. When Mike Lawhon died, he was governor of Texas, and so I think we should not respectfully be talking to Rick Perry to find out what he knows about these underground oil show parties. This Buddy Webb, Midland, Texas.